"Hey, kid," he called softly. "You okay?" The boy flinched, his eyes snapping open. He sat up quickly, clutching his backpack to his chest. The dog immediately positioned itself between him and Michael, but it didn't bark, just stared intently, as if sizing him up. I'm fine," the boy muttered, his voice trembling. "We're just resting." Michael noticed how the boy glanced around, as if looking for an escape route. His face was pale, with dark circles under his eyes and a fresh bruise on his cheek. "Looks like you could use a meal," Michael said, keeping his tone calm. "And your friend too." He nodded toward the dog, which was now sitting but still hadn't taken its eyes off Michael. The boy shook his head. "We're managing. You don't need to bother us." "I'm not bothering," Michael replied, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "I just want to help. What's your name?" The boy was silent for a long time, his fingers gripping the strap of his backpack. Finally, he said quietly, "Elijah, and this is Bruno." Michael nodded, smiling. "Cool name, Bruno. I'm Michael. Listen, Elijah, I'm grabbing coffee across the street. Want to come with my treat?" Elijah shot him a suspicious look. His eyes scanned Michael's tracksuit, his sneakers, which, despite their simplicity, looked too new for this neighborhood. "Why are you doing this?" he asked bluntly. "What, you bored? Or are you one of those guys who films good deeds for likes?" Michael felt his cheeks flush. He was used to cynicism, but Elijah's words hit the mark. Still, instead of defending himself, he replied calmly, "No cameras, no likes. I just see you're having a rough time. And I know what it's like when it feels like the whole world's against you." Elijah stayed quiet, but his shoulders relaxed slightly. Bruno, sensing the shift, licked his owner's hand. Finally, the boy nodded. "Okay, but Bruno comes with us." "No problem." Michael smiled. They sat in a small diner across the street. The place smelled of fried bacon and a slightly burnt toaster. Outside, cars honked, and a waitress, an older woman with a gray bun, poured coffee from a faded machine. Elijah kept Bruno at his feet, a plate of eggs and toast in front of him. He ate slowly, as if afraid the food would vanish. Michael ordered coffee and a slice of pie, but mostly watched instead of eating. "So, what happened to you guys?" he asked cautiously. "You don't look like someone who's been on the streets for long." Elijah paused, holding his fork. His gaze hardened. "And you don't look like someone who actually wants to know." Michael didn't look away. "Try me." Elijah sighed, his fingers nervously gripping the edge of the table. "My mom. She got sick. Cancer. We lost our apartment because we couldn't pay. And then he stopped, his voice breaking. I was left alone. Bruno's all I've got." Michael felt a tightness in his chest. He wanted to say something, but Elijah continued. "I tried finding work, but who needs a 20-year-old with no education who sleeps on the street? And shelters. They don't allow dogs. I'm not abandoning Bruno." He stroked the dog, who lay quietly under the table. Michael noticed the waitress glancing at them out of the corner of her eye, but not interfering. "Have you thought about any programs? There are organizations that help with housing with dogs." Elijah gave a bitter smile. "Seriously? I went to 3 of those organizations. They either put you on a year-long wait list or demand documents I don't have. One guy even said I didn't look needy enough. Can you imagine? Guess I needed a hole in my head for them to notice me." Michael clenched his fists under the table. He knew the system was flawed, but hearing it from someone living that reality felt like a punch. He remembered his own childhood in Newark, when his family barely scraped by. He'd been lucky. He had a mom who fought for him. Elijah had no one. The conversation was interrupted by a loud voice at the entrance. Two men in security guard uniforms from a nearby store walked in. One of them, stocky with a neck tattoo, looked straight at Elijah. "Well, look, our old friend," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "Begging again, kid." Elijah tensed, his hand tightening on Bruno's leash. "I'm not begging," he replied quietly. "I'm just eating." "Yeah, and where'd you get the money?" The other guard, thinner with a gray mustache, stepped closer. "You're the one who hangs around our store. We warned you." Michael felt his blood boil. He stood slowly, his height and broad shoulders drawing the guard's attention. "The kid's with me," he said calmly but firmly. "You got a problem?" The stocky guard sized Michael up, his eyes lingering on the expensive sneakers. "And who are you? His lawyer?" He sneered. "I'm the guy who sees two grown men hassling a kid who's not bothering anyone." Michael shot back. "If you've got a problem, literalment, you want to take a chance on a kid who's down on his luck? Or one of those do-gooders who records good deeds for likes?" Michael felt his cheeks burn. He was used to cynicism, but Elijah's words hit home. Still, instead of making excuses, he replied calmly, "No cameras, no likes. I just see you're having a tough time. And I know what it's like when it feels like the whole world's against you." Elijah was silent, but his shoulders relaxed a bit. Bruno, sensing the change in mood, licked his owner's hand. Finally, the boy nodded. "Fine, but Bruno's coming with us." "No question," Michael smiled. They sat in a small diner across the street. The place smelled of fried bacon and a slightly burnt toaster. Outside, cars honked, and an elderly waitress with a gray bun poured coffee from a faded machine. Elijah kept Bruno at his feet, a plate of eggs and toast in front of him. He ate slowly, as if scared the food would disappear. Michael ordered coffee and a slice of pie, but mostly watched rather than ate. "So, what happened to you guys?" he asked carefully. "You don't seem like someone who's been on the streets long." Elijah paused, fork in hand, his gaze hardened. "And you don't seem like someone who really wants to know." Michael didn't look away. "Try me." Elijah sighed, his fingers nervously gripping the table's edge. "My mom. She got sick. Cancer. We lost our apartment because we couldn't pay. And then he stopped, his voice breaking. "I was left alone. Bruno's all I've got." Michael felt a pang in his chest. He wanted to say something, but Elijah went on. "I tried getting a job, but who needs a 20-year-old with no education who sleeps on the street? And shelters. They don't allow dogs. I'm not leaving Bruno." He stroked the dog, who lay quietly under the table. Michael noticed the waitress glancing at them, but staying out of it. "Have you thought about programs? There are organizations that help with housing, even with dogs." Elijah gave a bitter smile. "For real? I went to 3 of those organizations. They either put you on a year-long wait list or ask for documents I don't have. One guy even said I didn't look needy enough. Imagine that. Guess I needed a hole in my head for them to notice me." Michael clenched his fists under the table. He knew the system was broken, but hearing it from someone living it hit like a blow. He thought back to his own childhood in Newark, when his family barely got by. He'd been lucky. He had a mom who fought for him. Elijah had no one. A loud voice at the entrance broke the moment. Two men in security guard uniforms from a nearby store walked in. One, stocky with a neck tattoo, looked right at Elijah. "Well, look, our old pal," he said, his voice oozing contempt. "Begging again, kid." Elijah tensed, gripping Bruno's leash tighter. "I'm not begging," he said quietly. "I'm just eating." "Yeah, where'd you get the cash?" The other guard, leaner with a gray mustache, stepped closer. You're the one who loiters by our store. We warned you." Michael felt his blood boil. He stood slowly, his height and broad shoulders catching the guard's eyes. "The kid's with me," he said calmly but firmly. "You got an issue?" The stocky guard eyed Michael, his gaze lingering on the pricey sneakers. "Who are you? His lawyer?" He mocked. "I'm the guy who sees two grown men picking on a kid who's not hurting anyone," Michael snapped. "If you've got a problem, talk to me. But I'd think twice about ruining your day." The waitress, silent until now, stepped in. "Enough, Tony," she said to the stocky guard. "The kid didn't do anything. Get out." The guards exchanged looks, but something in Michael's steady confidence made them back off. They muttered something under their breath and left. Elijah exhaled, his hands shaking. "Thanks," he said quietly, eyes down. Michael sat back, tamping down his anger. "That happened a lot." Elijah nodded. "They think I steal, or that I ruin the look of their store. Once they called the cops because I was sitting with Bruno by the park. Said I was a threat." Michael clenched his jaw. He knew that look, the one that saw you as a problem, not a person. He'd seen it as a kid, when his family was deemed undesirable in nicer neighborhoods. And here, in 2025, nothing had changed. "Listen, Elijah," he said, leaning closer. "I'm not promising miracles, but I can help you and Bruno. Not for likes, not for fame, just because I can." Elijah looked at him, his eyes glistening with tears he fought to hold back. "Why you?" he whispered. "You don't even know me." Michael smiled, but there was a hint of sadness in it. "Because I know what it's like to be invisible, and I don't want you to stay that way." San Francisco buzzed with life as Michael, Elijah, and Bruno walked along Mission Street. The air smelled of ocean breeze and tacos from a nearby food truck. Elijah held Bruno's leash, his eyes warily tracking Michael, expecting a catch. "Where are we going?" Elijah asked, his voice cautious. "First, we'll find you and Bruno a home. Then, school. You want to learn, right?" Michael replied, his tone calm but confident. Elijah shrugged, staring at the asphalt. "I haven't been to school since I was 15. I don't know if I can handle it." Michael put a hand on his shoulder. "You're smart, Elijah. You just need a chance. I'll give you one." They entered the Horizon Housing Solutions office, where the air smelled of paper and cheap cleaner. Mary Gonzalez, the coordinator, sat behind a desk. "We need an apartment for Elijah and his dog," Michael said. "Simple but safe." Mary sighed, eyeing Elijah's dirty jacket. "It's tough without documents. And dogs aren't allowed." Michael leaned forward. "They're family. I'll cover rent and be the guarantor. What do we need to do?" Mary nodded. "There's a youth program, but Elijah must study or work." Elijah tensed. "I don't know if..." "You'll manage," Michael cut in. 2 days later, they stood in a small No Valley apartment. Bruno sniffed the corners, tail wagging. Elijah clutched the keys, disbelieving. "This is ours," he whispered. "Yours," Michael confirmed. Now school. Elijah enrolled in GED courses at Second Chance Education. Michael bought him a laptop and textbooks. Classes were tough, but Elijah persisted, studying math late into the night. Michael dropped by with pizza, checking his progress. "You're doing great," he said, seeing Elijah's filled notebooks. But trouble lingered. One evening, Elijah spotted Tony, the guard, near the building. His cold smirk prompted Elijah to call Michael. "They're back." His voice shook. "I'm scared for Bruno." "I'll handle it," Michael reassured. He went to the store where Tony worked and confronted the manager. "Your guards are harassing my friend. It needs to stop." The manager nodded. "I'll fix it." That evening, Michael brought Elijah a jacket and dog food. "If they bother you again, call. But I think they'll back off." Elijah grew confident, helping classmates with algebra. Bruno bonded with neighbors who brought treats. But Michael knew the system, and biases remained. Each of Elijah's steps was a victory, and Michael was there to support him. Spring 2026 brought warmth and the scent of magnolias to San Francisco. On the basketball court, Elijah held an envelope from Second Chance Education. Michael stood nearby. "Open it," he said. "You worked hard." Elijah tore it open, his eyes lighting up. "I passed my GED," he shouted. Michael clapped his shoulder. "Nice work." He looked at Bruno. "Hear that? Your guy's a brainiac." Elijah laughed, tears of joy in his eyes. But that evening, Mary Gonzalez and Tony knocked on the door. "Neighbors complain Bruno scares their kids," Mary said. "They want to review your lease." Elijah paled. "He doesn't bother anyone." Michael frowned. "The kid just got his diploma, and you're testing him over fears?" Tony raised his hands. "I was wrong about him. Neighbors will drop the complaint if Bruno gets training." Elijah looked at Bruno. "I'm in, but I want to talk to the neighbors." At the meeting, Elijah shared his story. The room fell silent. Mrs. Carter, an elderly neighbor, apologized for her fear. The complaint was withdrawn, and neighbors suggested a dog-walking schedule. A month later, Elijah enrolled in programming courses, earning a partial scholarship. Bruno became a kid's favorite. In May, on the court, Elijah tossed the ball, laughing. "You said you'd teach me to play," he teased. Michael smiled. "You've taught me plenty." "You changed everything," Elijah said. "Nah," Michael replied. "You did." Under the starry sky, laughter and Bruno's barks echoed. The system was still unfair, but Elijah knew he wasn't alone, and every step was a new beginning.